Hello, everybody. Stephen Britton here, coming to you live, loud, and proud from, yet again, somewhere in an undisclosed location here in southern Alberta. What used to be part of Canada, but I don't recognize Canada even as a country anymore, and certainly not as Canada's not Canadian anymore, so I can't really say that I'm in Canada simply because I don't know what Canada is. In any case, I'm going to discuss three things right now. And if you decide that you want to make some comments, feel free. I will see them on my laptop screen. I may bring some of them up. If I do, great. And if I don't get any comments, well, you can always comment later as well on my locals page, because that's where I want people to comment. Locals.com. StephenBritton.locals.com. You can find me there. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, I've got three things on the go. Incitement, impeachment, and infection. And we're going to deal with infection first. That is the subject of coronavirus, of course. I don't know about you, but I am really getting sick and tired of this whole coronavirus thing that's going on right now. Namely, this 2-week lockdown that was supposed to be happening has now gone on for, well, almost a year. And I don't know about you, but I was out of work for most of last year, 6 months straight. I was back probably for about 4 weeks at most. Then Christmas time came and we went off again. And I haven't gone back to work yet. I'm kind of hoping that we're going to be back in February, but you never know. What with the ridiculous imposition of these rules that the government is putting on us and these mandatory mask wearing laws that we all seem to be suffering through right now as well. Namely, especially a lot of the time, people are wearing cloth masks. And yeah, okay, they're certainly more comfortable than wearing a surgical mask. I've worn both. I hate all kinds of masks, mainly because I just hate the feeling of the fact that I've got something. Feel like I'm wearing a burqa. In actual fact, that's what I call them. Face burqas. COVID burqas, because that's really what we're being forced into. And we've got the RCMP, which I think now stands for the Religious Canadian Mounted Police, forcing us to wear the things. So, and of course, you're subject to fines, possibly arrest, possibly prison time if you refuse to wear them. Province of Quebec's even got a curfew going on. And especially since cloth masks are pretty much useless. Let's dive into the uselessness of cloth masks a little bit here, and I'll bring up some screen stuff to show you what I mean here. Now, this is all information that is available online, and you can see where I've got this one here. Efficacy of cloth face mask prevention in novel virus infection transmitting. A systematic review and meta-analysis. And what this is telling us here is it basically goes through the size of the coronavirus itself and whether or not the virus can penetrate face masks. And just so you don't think that this is an old article, it is actually fairly recent, July the 28th of 2020. Now, something that you've got to understand here about the coronavirus is there's a size comparison chart. Here is the size of a reverse osmosis membrane, nanofiltration membrane. Here's the coronavirus, right there, 0.06 to 0.14 micrometers or microns. So that's the size of the coronavirus. And the thing is, cloth masks have pores in them which are 80 to 500 micrometers or microns in size. Now, surgical masks are better than that, certainly, and that's going to increase the effectiveness of a surgical mask. But realistically, a cloth face mask just allows the virus to pass right through it. Now, I know what's going to happen. People are going to argue that the virus, in order to pass through the mask, or to be transmitted, has to be bonded to a droplet or an aerosol. Droplets are usually 5 to 10 micrometers in size, so a droplet will go straight through a cloth mask anyway. Aerosols are even smaller than that. So, great. By the way, aerosols go through surgical masks. Now, you need a minimum, there's something called a minimum infectious dose. That's the minimum number of viruses you need to come into contact with in order to become infected. And the common belief is that coronavirus infection is quite low. Or the minimum infectious dose of a coronavirus is fairly low, simply because it's very, very infectious. And I'm not going to dispute any of this. This is all true. This is all truth. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't take very many to infect you. And I've just shown you that droplets will go through a cloth mask. So cloth masks are useless. And if we also, this is the kicker, lockdowns haven't worked. If a lockdown had worked, there would be low infections now. Masks aren't working. And the reason we know this is because people are still getting infected. Enough already. We've shut down the economy. The economy has virtually collapsed almost a year now. It's pushing up the suicide rate. It's pushing up bankruptcies. It's pushing up people losing their homes because they can't pay their mortgage, because they can't work. EI is going to start running out for people very soon. So the alternative is what? Educate the public. Open the economy. Educate the public on what to do to take reasonable steps to protect oneself. And then trust us as competent adults, as responsible adults, to make good decisions for ourselves. Now, that when I say, so let each one of us, or a responsible caregiver, decide for ourselves. There are higher risk groups. I agree. I know this. So in cases where someone is in a higher risk group, then they're obviously going to take stronger protections for themselves. And if that means wearing a mask, or if that means, staying home a little bit more for them, and that's the choice they should make for themselves. Right now, the government is punishing all of us for a virus which infects, yes, more people than the flu. It's got the same symptoms as a flu, and 99.7% of people recover. Now, people claim that there's long-term health effects. How are we going to prove this? A year is not long-term. Long-term is 20 years. So look into that. Correlation does not imply causation either. So there we go. Treat us like adults. Trust us to make the appropriate choices for ourselves. Coronavirus. Done. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I admit that was pretty pathetic. I'm not going to do that again. That was lame. All right. Let's completely shift gears, because there was a gentleman who was wearing a mask when they were out in public on January the 6th. His name was Donald Trump. And everyone's saying that he incited a riot, an insurrection. And the reason that I'm going into this now is because, once again, we have got people all over Twitter, and they've been attacking me because I commented that there was no insurrection, there was no, Trump did not incite it. And of course, people have been saying to me, well, whatever helps you sleep at night, said one guy. Sure, thanks. Truth of the matter is, I sleep a lot better than you do, I would hope. Because by voting for Biden, you've killed people. Because, and by the way, here's my rationale for that statement. Look which group has come back, has reared its ugly head again. And it disappeared while Trump was president. ISIS. And what does ISIS do? Kills people. So, did Trump incite an insurrection? The answer is no. He couldn't have. First, it wasn't an insurrection. The Capitol building was breached. Look at the behavior of the people in the Capitol building once they got in there. What did most of them do? They stayed between the velvet ropes. Insurrectionists don't stay between velvet ropes. They didn't trash the place. Some idiot stole Pelosi's podium. Yeah, somebody else had a go at, sat at Pelosi's desk. Big deal. And some guy dressed like a buffalo with antlers on his head. And when he was interviewed earlier, was talking about something about the quantum realm and all this weird QAnon wacko stuff. He ends up sitting in the speaker's chair in the House. And what happened there? Well, a police officer said, you really shouldn't be there. Yeah, okay, I'll be out in a minute. This is an insurrection? It's a bunch of guys having a good time. Yes, I'm not minimizing it. People died. That's tragic. And the one person who was shot was a protester who was in the Capitol building. And the guy who fired the gun didn't have a clean shot to begin with because he was shooting towards other officers. And if you don't know what's past your target, what do? You don't take the freaking shot. Anybody with basic gun training should know this anyway. It wasn't an insurrection. The second point is there's no way in hell Trump could have incited it. And I say that because Trump was speaking 45 minutes away from the Capitol building, walking. So it would have taken Trump's crowd to walk 45 minutes to the Capitol building to do some kind of insurrection or breach the Capitol. One little problem there. The Capitol was breached while Trump was still giving his speech. Logically impossible for Trump to have incited this event. Didn't happen. This is a narrative being spoon-fed to you by the mainstream media, by Biden's crowd, by false President Joe Biden's crowd. I do not recognize him as the president of the United States. The United States has no president right now. Quite frankly, I don't even recognize the United States. I think the United States is done. So, it is not logically possible for Trump to have incited an insurrection. There we go. Now, next up, I'm just going to have to do a quick screen share adjustment here. We're going to look at some constitutional stuff because we're going to talk about how constitutional or unconstitutional it is for the United States to be trying Donald Trump in the Senate after leaving office. And frankly, the answer is it isn't. That's beside the point. Well, it's not beside the point. It is the point I'm going to make here. So let me just pull up the screen share here. I'm still learning how to work my way around this studio app, so you'll have to forgive me here as I do this. There we go. Okay, so now let's look at some of the articles of impeachment, or not so much the articles, but the articles inside the U.S. Constitution pertaining to impeachment of a sitting elected official, a sitting public official. Okay? Oh, it looks like it's reloading or something. There it is. Okay. Let's make it full screen. There we go. Okay. So, Article 4 deals with impeachment and removal from office of an official, and I'm going to pull it up here. Now, the Constitution gives Congress, the President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. There is a problem with that in that there's a problem there in that Donald Trump is no longer the President of the United States. He's done. His term is over. So the Congress cannot remove him from office, especially because he doesn't hold the office to begin with. So there is no constitutional mechanism to punish Donald Trump after leaving office or remove him from office because he's not there anymore. So that's the first point here. And realistically, so the argument that people are making, of course, is that what they're trying to do is sanction him for actions that he has done while holding office. That's the argument that people are making. And there is no mechanism in place to do that because he's done. So Congress is trying to hold a trial for someone who they have no capacity constitutionally to try. Now, what that amounts to, therefore, is something called a bill of attainder. They are trying to attain Donald Trump. And a bill of attainder is simply a case where Parliament or Congress or whatever legislative body there is passes a bill convicting somebody of a crime. It is incredibly bad form to do so. And it is actually, in the States, it is completely unconstitutional. And you can see right here, this no bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. That means it is unconstitutional in the United States for any act of Congress to attain anybody. And the term attainder comes from the idea of tainted. They are trying to taint Donald Trump with a crime that he didn't even commit for actions that they have no capacity to try him for anyway. So it really, it behooves Congress, it behooves the Senate of the United States to say to the House, because realistically, that's the only option that they have. So there you go. It is completely ridiculous to be doing this to Donald Trump. He didn't do anything anyway, and cotton masks are useless. COVID's the reaction to COVID is a sham. Governments have collapsed the economy, and I don't like conspiracies, but everyone's talking about this, building back and better and resetting the economy. Where have you heard that before? All right, anyway, that's it for me. I'm Steve Britton.